Hello. In our Parashat Kedoshim, we read about the mitzvah of Orla. But the mitzvah of Orla doesn't just start with the fact that you're not allowed to eat the fruit for the first 3 years of the tree, but rather it describes what happens when Am Yisrael enters Eretz Yisrael. וכי תבואו אל הארץ ונטעתם כל עץ מאכל. When you come to the land, then you will plant any kind of fruit tree. Chazal see this not only as a description, but as a mitzvah, an expectation, a demand. The Midrash says like this, Rabbi Yehuda bar Rabbi Simon patach, Acharei Hashem Elokechem telechu. You have to walk in the footsteps of Hashem. So what does that mean? So the example that they give is מתחילת בריאתו של עולם לא נתעסק הקדוש ברוך הוא אלא במתת תחילה. When Hashem created the world, the first thing he did was to plant trees. As it says, ויטע השם אלוקים גן בעדן. Hashem planted the Garden of Eden. אף אתם כשנכנסים לארץ לא תתעסקו אלא במתת תחילה. The same way Hashem, first thing he did was plant trees. Also, when you enter Eretz Yisrael, first of all, you should plant trees. Morenu v'Rabbeinu Aaron Lichtenstein Zatzal, that this week is his Yahrzeit, sees the idea of planting trees not only as a description of planting trees, but as an example of the importance of developing the world. I think that this week, that we are in the week between Yom HaShoah and Yom Haatzmaut, this idea of developing the world, and more so developing Eretz Yisrael, is an important concept and an important theme. It's walking in the footsteps of Hashem. Rav Lichtenstein emphasized also that Yishuv Eretz Yisrael is not only the physical development, planting trees, but also the moral development of giving tzedakah in Eretz Yisrael and making sure that Am Yisrael lives in Eretz Yisrael in a correct manner, both spiritually, ethically, morally, and physically, of course. So, first of all, we get this great concept that this week we're reading in our parasha right before Yom Haatzmaut about the importance of developing Eretz Yisrael. And we have the zchut of living at a time where we just look around us and we see the great development, and there's just a lot to be grateful for. Rav Lichtenstein adds another point, and he says that in many places in Tanakh, we see that trees have a danger within them. In many places, people worshipped avodah zarah next to trees. So the more trees you plant, the more you engage in developing the world, there is a greater spiritual danger. You might find yourself going to avodah zarah. You might find yourself connected to people that can influence you in a bad way. Maybe it is better to refrain from these areas, developing the world, engaging with the world, connecting to different cultures around us, because we want to develop Eretz Yisrael, because we want to develop ourselves, because we want to develop the world itself. Maybe it's better to refrain from that because we want to protect ourselves spiritually. So Rav Lichtenstein pointed out that this Midrash tells us no, there's a danger, but this is still walking in the footsteps of Hashem. Even though trees are problems, I'll add even more. Hashem created the sun and the moon, even though he knew that people will worship them. But this is part of developing the world, and we have to understand the danger. We have to understand how important the development of the world is, how important it is to take part in what is happening. But Rav Lichtenstein emphasizes to say that while we do this, we don't turn this into be our only value, no matter what the price is, but we always have to take into consideration the price that we can pay for what we are doing, and then decide how we are going to protect ourselves, and be involved as much as we can in the world, but always make sure that we realize that we're not going into paths that will that are wrong and that are mistaken spiritually and ethically. Shabbat Shalom.